This episode of Capes and Lunatics is brought to you by Tweaked Audio. Get awesome headphones, go to tweakedaudio.com and use the coupon code Southgate to get 30% off, free shipping, and a lifetime warranty. Or you can get there through the link on our website, southgatemediagroup.com.
Avast me hearties, and welcome once again to Full Stream Ahead. I'm your host, I'm your captain, Charlie, the Professor Esser. With me as always is me first mate and skinny rich friend.
It's Mozz.
Hey Mozz, welcome to the final episode of Agent Carter, Season 2, Episode 10, Hollywood Ending. Peggy needs Howard Stark to eliminate Zero Matter as they are faced with a mission none of them could come back. I think they left off a word in that. But anyway, there we go. That's the IMDb description. Jennifer Getzinger is again our director this week. Stan Lee and Jack Kirby, of course, get those Marvel by credits. Of course, Christopher Marcus and Stephen McFeely get our created bys. Michelle Fazekas and Tara Butters, again, are doing those teleplays. The story this time was once again by Chris Dingus. And Sue Chung and Eric Peterson, they are executively story editing this baby. And the person doing all the story editing that they need to executivize is, of course, hardest working woman in show business, Lindsay Allen. All right. So, man, this episode. So we jump back in time about 60 seconds back to where Jack and Peggy and Sue Servant
Dr. Wilkes explodes.
Yeah, well, this is after Dr. Wilkes explodes because we see basically the Mexican standoff. Peggy's got her gun drawn. Thompson says she's not going to do it. And I'll say this much. I am impressed by Peggy's ability to not shoot someone because she's got her gun drawn, the hammer pulled. She is ready to just blow his brains out. And then he makes a motion like he's going to push it. And the explosion happens. She still doesn't fire the gun. So she is calm even in the because immediately she could tell he hadn't actually pushed it yet, because at first she's not sure, but he's good. I didn't push it. Don't look at me. And they realize that something else came and we of course saw in the last episode that it was Dr. Wilkes who exploded. They go in, and I can't remember if they said Kurtwood was dead or not, but they do find Wilkes alive, and then they do mention that Zero Matter is everywhere, and then all of a sudden Whitney comes up and just calls it all to her, and now she's all super Whitney. Very dangerous.
Looks like it's affected her mind too.
Oh yes, clearly.
She's probably even more of a super genius at this point. Yes,
well, because it's whispering to her. It's helping. It's asking her to bring her to this universe. As I've said,
like E.T. and she's like Elliot, and it's telling her, dark matter want to go home.
Well, no, it's more like Dormammu. Dark matter wants to consume your universe. In fact, the implication that the dark dimension of which Dormammu is the ruler of, where basically the dark force energy of Dormammu has consumed everything in that universe and is seeking a new universe to come into, that this was its attempt. That although it's not official that it's Dormammu, that's the idea, that there is this entity of the dark universe that is asking to be brought in. So that's the implication, and at the time that was very much what we in the fan community understood to be what was going on.
Interesting.
And again, now that's going to be a question whether or not Feige revisits that or, touches on these things, whether or not he maintains a continuity between the universe. That's always that.
Easy enough to make him just another bubble in the infinite sort of sea of universes. No.
Well, see that's a DC kind of way of thinking. Marvel, generally speaking, has a rule that everything that has happened, but sometimes it didn't happen the way we remember it, or there's more to it than that. So that was always the idea with the TV universes, was that things can happen there, but the movies trump it, but the movies don't discount what happens in the TV shows. And the TV shows can't discount what happens in the movies. So between the two of them, it's kind of a détente, but the movies are supreme, but the TV shows are playing in the same sandbox, and that's always been the intention. So now again, Feige could say, no, that wasn't the dark dimension, that was this other dimension. But the idea that that parts of this have a corollary in the main MCU timeline is to be expected. They're not going to reintroduce a new Dr. Wilkes if they ever decided to. They're going to maintain the histories of these universes the way they want to. But right now there's some transition. But I don't expect that Feige is going to out and out say, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. didn't happen, Defenders didn't happen. He's not going to do that because I don't think it serves any purpose for him to do that. None of these shows were bad enough to deny, with the exception of the Inhumans.
I mean, okay. I was going to say, I don't know if you can find anything worse than Iron Fist, but you just did.
Oh, yeah. Iron Fist was, yeah. But Iron Fist is minor. And here's the thing. This is again, something I think Feige's going to do. I think he will want to take things that were done poorly and do them right.
I hope he gets a better actor to play Iron Fist.
Well, I mean, that's the question. That's the question. But the fact of the matter is, I think all the other Defenders are safe. And they do recast people all the time in the MCU. So that's not impossible.
That would be nice.
In fact, I actually think there's a really good shot that when they do make that Fantastic Four film, Michael B. Jordan will be coming back for the Johnny Storm role, expressly because he was one of the few things people said were good in that Fantastic Four film.
Everybody loved to rag on that movie. It's maybe because I didn't know who Doctor Doom really was in the comics, but I thought it was just a fine movie, I didn't mind it at all. I enjoyed it. I think I've seen it twice.
It had a very rushed ending. Had a very rushed ending. It had a lot of... It had a lot... See, that is a film where I feel like the director didn't really know where he wanted to go, and because he didn't know where he wanted to go, the suits had to get involved, and then it went over budget because they let him go and spin his wheels for so long. Then they said, well, we have to make a movie, and they just sort of jammed it all together. Yeah. And Sony wasn't willing to pay for reshoots or Joss Whedon to come in and fix it. Sort of hammered what they had into a film. And no, I mean, like I said, there's choices with Von Doom that I don't know if I would have liked. Yes, Victor Von Doom from the Fantastic... What? Well, there's only one Victor Von Doom, yes. Well, no, he's from a family of Von Dooms. And technically, I have my own fan theory on the Von Dooms, which is that they're actually the secret. They actually were supposed to be the real rulers of Latveria, because Von Doom implies that they're actually royalty, specifically the royal house of Doomstadt, which is the capital of Latveria. So
interesting.
Yeah. Because that was a choice they made because they didn't want to explain the armor, and I think that was a mistake. I think those are the kinds of things where they're rushing to get somewhere, and they hurt themselves because of it. Because you don't have to have Doctor Doom in the first film. there are more than a few great villains that you could have done in a Fantastic Four film. They could have had the Super Skrulls. They could have had anybody. The Skrulls are the second villain they face. So and specifically superpowered Skrulls that are pretending to be the Fantastic Four and mimicking their powers. So they could have done a lot of things, but they chose not to. They chose to focus on Dr. Doom, and I think that was a mistake. They should have maybe had Doom be kind of like Thanos in the Avengers, where he's just off in the back the whole time. Yeah, waiting for his moment, but that was that. It's okay, but we're actually not even talking about Agent Carter right now. It's okay, Tristan. I know it wouldn't be a podcast without you butting in, and that's why we love you. Okay, I hope you can hear what he's saying. By the way, Mozz.
I could not.
You could not. Okay,
no.
So you got to get close and talk loud if you want to ask a question, Tristan. Yes. If you ever want to do this, you have a headphone and a computer. We can set you up, and you can actually be on the podcast.
That would be so cool.
It would be so cool, but he wants to chime in. He doesn't want to actually be a part of the podcast. He doesn't want to actually commit to podcasting.
I dig it.
Yeah, that's kids today. Anyway, where were we? Okay.
So from there, I think we have the interaction between Mr. Manfredi and Whitney Frost.
Yes.
It rubbed him so wrong.
Oh, Joseph Manfredi, and again, and this is one of these characters. Now, the Manfredis are Spider-Man villains, but that's Sylvester Manfredi. But what's interesting about this timeline is the whole point of Sylvester Manfredi is that he's this old guy, obsessed with maintaining his youth, but he's also a very powerful gangster in the Manfredi crime family. And it's one of these interesting ideas where, oh, gee whiz, if Whitney ever becomes sane enough to come out and actually to be, well, we'll get to that in a minute, but could be Silvermane's mom if he's born in the 40s, because by then he's in his 80s by the 2020s, which would be right where he's supposed to be as a gangster. So little Sylvester Manfredi would work out nicely. But just a thought there, Marvel. If we ever get Silvermane in the Spider-Man universe. But getting back to this. Yes, so Joseph Manfredi, who we've seen before this, he was actually the guy who got Whitney the lab where she was working at. It was essentially a sanitation plant. They kept on calling it a junkyard or a dump, and because he's, of course, in waste removal. He was very, very offended by that. He takes pride in his work. He's a gangster and he does a lot of shady things, but he still takes pride in the work he does. And we know that he is just madly in love with Whitney, but sees that she's changed a bit, and actually comes to because as Whitney's just stuck in her own little mind, scrabbling on the walls, keeps on trying to get her to come out. She won't come out. She won't go about her business. And in the end, finally, he comes to Tony Stark and the gang, Howard Stark, for help. And of course, this makes for this tight thing because Stark and we actually forgot to mention that last episode, that basically how they get away from Whitney. Oh, actually, no, that's at the start of this episode. How they get away from Whitney is they run her over with the car. But so that was that, and that's how we get Howard Stark's triumphant return, which is kind of as luck would have it. But then again, Jarvis knows where he is. He comes back. He contacts Jarvis. You can make the timeline work if you have to, but it is like, as luck would have it, here's Howard Ex Machina. So. Right.
I mean, it was the last episode. It would be pretty, Yeah. I think I was too excited to care how he got there. Mm-hmm. So at least we got a Stark back.
Exactly. And then we have Samberly, Wilkes, and Stark working to build this device. Well, that's later, because first Manfredi comes, and we get a nice little confrontation between Howard and Manfredi, but then we find out they're old chums from the neighborhood. because of course they are. Just makes the world easier. And being old chums from the neighborhood, they, Joe makes this point that, look, I don't care that she's crazy. I care that she's changed. That I don't care that she's a homicidal maniac. That's fine. That's actually a feature, not a bug.
Right. But she can't talk to me that way.
Well, she's also not the girl that he fell in love with. She's lost in this obsession, and he knows it's not her. She's always been, she's always been the woman she has been, and he's appreciated her for who she was. But the way she
never turned it on him, though. That because like when he's talking to his mother, he's like, the way she talked to me. He was really incensed by that. Like, how dare she? Does she not know who I am? So it's like a little bit of his ego was sort of injured in that too. And
I think a lot of his ego was, but then again, I think that there was this quality that she never talked to him like that because they had a respect for each other.
Yeah.
I think he always respected her in a way that most men don't.
Right.
Yeah, he liked that she was beautiful, but he had no problems with her mind and really felt that was a selling point. And at least that's how I liked it. I like to imagine it in a much more romantic story rather than.
That's what I got too. That's the sense I got from him too.
I don't want them to be a Harley Joker relationship.
Right,
I want them to be really and truthfully in love and trying to build something, and then having to deal with the difficult.
Well, if you do believe truly, and if you are truly in love, that's the only time you can get hurt that way, right?
Well, exactly, and I think that's why he's hurt, and that's why he has to betray her, which is the really hard part in it,
Yeah. Or he thinks it betray the thing inside of her.
Yeah, Well, yeah, I mean that's what it is, but it's a rough thing, and basically what he does is he asks her, because essentially what the hero's plan is they're going to sneak in, steal all of her notes, and essentially build the device that she was going to build to open up the
rift.
Open up the rift and
keep it stable.
And keep it stable. Yeah, and because of that, because in order to do that, he basically has her come in to help him interrogate a goon. And he says, I've been working on him. I know he's doing something, and he refuses to do what I need him to do, and I need you just to scare him. And you can see how bored and distracted she is and how upset she is. And finally she decides to, go to she's going to leave, and then just before she leaves, Joseph
does threaten the goon.
Yeah, just a little threat. That's all you have to do. And as soon as she goes to it, he just starts talking. And it turns out he actually was betraying Joseph Manfredi, which takes him aback. He's like, oh, why'd you have to tell me that? Now I have to kill you. And so that happens as he basically tells him to just sit down and I'll deal with you later. And which is delightful, although he's dead. Yeah. But then as Whitney goes back, Sousa draws a little 8 where she had drew a 6. He says that should slow her down. And then they get back, they rebuild the device, they take the device to Howard's movie lot where he's giving everyone the week off, and they open the rift. And then, of course, as soon as the rift is open, she feels the rift is open, she is drawn to it. And at this time, we have a nice scene between Peggy and Thompson, because Thompson's like, yeah, you're going to turn me in. And Peggy's like, nah, I won't do that. Because she's a softie, I guess.
Right. And to his credit, he has a crucial piece of evidence, but decides to find out, hey, should I give this to her? If she's planning to turn me in, screw her. But if she's not, then I'll give her the evidence.
Well, there you go. And it is what it is. Although he held on to that anyway, so you always got to cover your bases, Mozz. You always got to cover your bases. You can't trust anyone to have the juice over you. That's what he's learned, and to some extent he's right. But to that extent, we have the devices working. She comes, she arrives. She very much kind of Bride of Frankenstein walks towards it, and then they hit her with the gamma cannon, which fires all of. Which again, why she's not killing them before she goes to it?
I thought so too, but I thought it was that whole thing of like she's so like entranced by the power, that she's completely oblivious to anything in her periphery, just single-minded, goal-oriented, walking.
Yeah, that does appear to be where she's working with. But they hit her with the gamma cannon. All of the black, dark matter, all the zero matter flies out of her. She's screaming, "No, I need it," which is very sad. But we don't see how sad it is until later. But they arrest her, put her in the back of the wagon, and then they're like, but after the gamma cannon and the zero matter flew out of her, it all went into the void, but it let off an EMP that essentially fried a lot of the circuits. So they can't turn the item off from remote control. They have to use the hand crank manual shutdown, which I don't even know what that's supposed to be, because he has to turn it multiple times. It's not like it's like there's like a kill switch, like a big, what do you call it? Like a Dr. Frankenstein. Like we have the two big metal forks, and then they pull down, and it that's the manual kill switch. It's like no, it's like there's like an old Model T crank. He's got to get the dynamo.
Right. I wonder if he was closing some sort of aperture.
That must be it. It must be some.
That's the only thing I could think of. It's something having to do with light that helps open the portal up, and he's just controlling the aperture of how much light gets through or something. And
that must be it. Yeah. But you would think that then if you wanted to control that, you would just have a slide thing.
Ooh.
Yeah. So that would just, another thing that would just go right over it and slap it shut, so that you don't have the flow. But whatever. I didn't design it.
Also, I love the aspect of they tied him to the pole with a fire hose, and then obviously tied it too short. And when they see him struggling, neither of them, not any of the three of them, decided, hey, let me loosen that up and help him out a little bit. They're like, nah, he's got this. We'll just wait an extra couple of minutes. I'm sure he'll get this.
Yeah, it's for drama.
Yeah.
Although what's kind of weird in that too is it doesn't seem like he ever actually closes the aperture, because the way they get it closed is they send the flying car with the gamma bomb or the gamma reactor in it into the dark dimension, which when it explodes, essentially closes the aperture or closes the thing. So really, at that point, what's the whole point of doing the crank anyway? It's
right.
If we
I guess they started that process before Jarvis came back with the idea.
Yeah, and he does say, okay, if you guys think of something else, let me know and I'll come back. 'Cause as it is, I got to do something, and this is something someone's got to do this, and of course, they're all making the debate about I'm the one who must do it. I should do it. And then he's like, oh, well, that's not fair. He just went and did it. I do love, because that is it's a great way for him to have solved the problem.
Right.
Well, you guys are bickering. I'm going to go do the job. I'm actually going to do the job, and they save the day. Yay! And Jarvis and Anna, they have a good cry, but they come to terms with everything, and they're made stronger for their difficulties. Anna's very upset that Peggy's trying to sneak out on her. Peggy and Sousa have a little confrontation and decide that she is going to stay after he calls her out of not letting him just die. Although, again, that doesn't really work either, because she couldn't just let him die. They still needed someone to freaking close the aperture. So it's like no, I didn't kill you because someone had to close the aperture. You just went, and that was how we wanted. That was how it had to be. So, but it doesn't matter. They had a nice big kiss. It was very lovely. And then we see, presumably, Sousa talking to Thompson, and what she wants to take more vacation. Oh well, I got to get out of here. You can't even get decent pizza in L.A. And then he goes to the door, and he opens the door and gets shot. And that is, and presumably shot by Dottie.
You think it was Dottie?
I think it was Dottie, because it's clearly a person in men's clothes that are too big for them.
Interesting.
So unless it's some other really, and it seemed to me to be, that's a woman in men's clothes.
Interesting.
That it's someone trying to hide who they are by, it's definitely not, just nothing about it looked like it was a guy in men's clothes, unless they were just like rail thin, but it actually struck me more like someone who was trying to look like they were bigger than they were by wearing men's clothes. So that was my take on it. And Thompson,
I thought maybe it was like the council reconvening now that Whitney Frost is out of power and just cleaning up all the loose ends and reassessing what they need to do to maintain power.
They do steal the ring, the pin. Oh, the pin that, by the way, Thompson figures out is actually a key, and says, "I guess we'll have to work together to figure out what it opens." Bum bum bum. And that was meant to be some kind of other hint for stuff that was going on in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. at that time. But as it stands, that's where the show ends. And we don't find out anything else until Sousa shows up in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. final season, and they still give us no resolution. But I guess it is implied that she and Peggy actually had a relationship.
Did they imply that in Agents?
No, they don't imply it in Agents. This implies that they do.
Oh, fair enough.
But he does say that he would have preferred to have what's it called? He would have preferred to have been able to say goodbye to some people. They don't say who he wants to say goodbye to. But you are meant to, I guess, imply that it was Agent Carter that he wanted to say goodbye to. And then interestingly, and that's always that weird question, because when they pick Thompson up in the 50s, if Cap actually went back to the 60s when he does go back and see Peggy, then it would have been after she had just lost the second great love of her life. Although when his body goes missing, probably Peggy's going to want to know what's going on with all that. So it gets a little weird, and they don't really resolve it, but that's where we're at. And that's the end of this series, man. And then there is the non-canonical short, although Feige may do something with that too, where actually the MCU short is the one that actually is canon to the MCU, but that the other things still happen, but that timeline played out a little differently than what we saw in the TV because of manipulations of the time stream. That some things were the way they were, because in that one, of course, Peggy it's arguable that she starts the S.H.I.E.L.D. much earlier in that other universe. But then you still have to have, well, then how does Faustus become associated with S.H.I.E.L.D.? And you can't overlook the fact that both the Dark World and Winter Soldier have direct ties-ins to the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. storyline. So there's a lot of complexities to it, but I trust Feige to figure it out. And I don't think any of it's being thrown away with the bathwater, as it were. I think that they're going to build something pretty awesome. At least that's my hope in it.
I trust in that.
Yeah, I trust in that too. It's because, like I said, it doesn't do him any favors to say, "Oh no, we're never going to use the Netflix people." It's like, no, they're, with the exception of Iron Fist, they're all super popular. And the fact of the matter is, nobody minded Iron Fist that much in Defenders. When he's working with Luke Cage, people like him. He's a nice, he's a good sidekick for Luke Cage. So a Power Man, Iron Fist, Heroes for Hire's kind of story works out nice. Now, of course, you also have Shang-Chi coming up, who has been in the Heroes for Hire as well. So there's a lot of interesting things you can explore and work with in this. And I do get the feeling we're going to get something from it eventually. We just got to wait and see what it's going to be. But yeah, any final thoughts on this series?
I'm surprised they didn't renew it. I wasn't expecting very much when I first started this, but I was pleasantly surprised by how thoughtfully they took their jobs, all the writers and everybody involved in the show.
Yeah, well, I think that they, that's the thing. It's like the people that were making it were kind of stuck in the middle of all the fights that were going on,
Mm-hmm.
All of the people that were pushing and pulling and saying, well, we want to be the boss of this and this is that. But they were all just trying to make a good TV show. They were saying, okay, what are our limitations? What can we do and what can we not do? What is the story we're exploring here? And in the end, they're just trying to make a good story. They're working with whatever limitations they have, and they did it, They, even though it wasn't Feige doing it, they knew they had to bring their A game, and they brought it. And I appreciate that. And then I just think that, the politics of saying, well, how much money do we have? How many shows do we want to produce? Do we want to do ongoing Agent Carters, or do we want to just keep doing them as mid-season replacements during the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.? And then they were going to do Marvel's Most Wanted as a mid-season replacement that likely would have tied back to Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. because they were going to have, or they would have tied back to Agent Carter because they were going to have Dominic Fortune as a character who was going to have had a relationship with Agent Carter back in the day, and now these are Agent Carter's secret files that we're going to be exploring, and that was going to be the next spin-off, and then the plug got pulled. They say that there's a pilot out there somewhere. I've never seen it, but I'm sure you can find it somewhere, like the Star Wars Christmas special. But anyway, yeah, I mean, I loved Agent Carter. I loved this series. I love that we got Sousa back, and I'm hopeful that Feige brings all these things back. And that's the thing, is like when Agents ended, everything was completely under Feige's control. That last season, that was Feige's season. So I don't think anything happened in the last two seasons of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. without Feige's direct approval and control and saying, here's how you are, here's how we're going to fit it all in. And I do think he has a plan for it, because, they're not running away from it. They're not even running away from Inhumans, They still exist. I think they may want to recast some of the Inhumans, but you never know. Because again, Feige may say, you know what? It's not the actors, right. It's the script. That if these people had written these characters right, we would have had a good story. And that's all we can hope for. And that's something hopefully Feige will create in his new expanded Marvel universe. Yay! Next on the block is WandaVision.
When is that coming out?
It's supposed to be, I believe, it's still scheduled for 2020.
Oh,
the one because, and I think it wasn't supposed to be. I think Falcon Winter Soldier was first, but they had to end production on Falcon Winter Soldier, and then with everything that's going on with Black Widow having to keep on being pushed back, I think they just said, you know what, we've got WandaVision in the can. Because for whatever reason, I think they did that one first because I think it was a more self-contained show. And so they're just moving forward with it. Because that, again, part of it is it's meant to be, I think most of it's going to take place in these sitcom kind of sets. And then we only get the hints at the world outside later on in the series.
Right. It's all taking place in his mind, right?
Well, it's all taking place in something. And we don't know what it's taking place in. It may be taking place in a quantum realm.
Interesting.
Because I did say that there was something that seemed to look like the quantum tunnel that Captain Marvel, not Captain Marvel, but Monica Rambeau gets sort of thrown out of. So, and you compare that to something like Falcon Winter Soldier, which I'm sure had a lot of stunt work. I'm sure was very stunt intensive. and so likely is going to be a harder production to do, especially once you go into those COVID situations, you know?
I hear that.
We'll have to see what they actually do with all of it. Okay. And we'll see where it goes from there. Yay! All right, Mozz. If you guys have enjoyed this podcast, please keep on listening to us. We are going to be doing more. The Boys are coming up. We're going to be doing season 2 of The Boys, and that's going to be fun. Unless at the last minute we decide to do something completely different. So
who knows what'll be released secretly.
Yeah. But tune in next week and we'll find out what we're going to do. But right now we've said we're going to do The Boys, so that's probably what we're doing. Yep. But in the meantime, if you were having trouble listening to this, or every so often it just didn't sound as good as you hoped it would, that's all on you. Because right now there is nothing stopping you from going to tweakedaudio.com. Yes, tweakedaudio.com. That's tweakedaudio.com. And getting yourself a pair of really fine headphones from them, and using the coupon code Southgate at checkout to get a really awesome discount on what you want to listen to us on. And when you do that, you will be very happy, I'm sure. The other thing that you can use that Southgate coupon code for is Hunt a Killer over at huntakiller.com, where Michelle Gray is a PI hired to crack an old cold case and could really use some assistance from someone like you. So go over there, use that coupon code, get a discount off of that, and then also maybe solve the mystery of the Blair Witch, because that's something else they're doing. And if none of that interests you, go down to our show notes, find the link to Amazon in our show notes, click that link, go to Amazon, buy whatever the heck you want. If you do that, costs you absolutely nothing, helps out the station because you got to them from us through our link. And while you're over there, check out Pod Life, the book available in paperback and in audio, or not in audio, in paperback and Kindle, though the audiobook is coming, I hear, which is a book produced by the Southgate Media Group, telling the stories of our podcasters, by our podcasters, and for you who may or may not be a podcaster. So please enjoy that as well. In the meantime, Mozz, if they would like to reach out to you and talk to you about this, maybe make their suggestions for what streaming content they'd like to see us talk about, how can they find you?
Or they can email me at mozzmanzoor@gmail.com, or find me on Facebook under Mozz Manzoor. That's MOZZMANZOOR.
And, of course, you can always write to me in that old-fashioned email way, the way maybe Agent Carter or Agent Sousa once did, at Charlie Esser, at superconnectivityblog@gmail.com. That's superconnectivityblog, all one word, @gmail.com. Then follow me on the Twitter as I live tweet things, which, since nothing is live anymore, I don't do as much. But if I ever find something awesome that's live to tweet, and you would like me to tweet about it, let me know, and do so at Charlie Esser. That's CHARLIE ESSER. Look for the 2 E's in the middle.
For quality. Ping!
Thank you, Mozz. All right, me hearties. You've gone across the crazy seas of the internet with me and Mozz one last time. One more time. And come back one more time again next week as we once again sail full stream ahead. Arg.
Arg.
That was a very good arg, Mozz.
All right, thank you.